What's up, y'all? Yancey Strickler from Artist Corporations here. Wanted to talk to you about where this project came from, what it's all about, and how you can be a part of it. First, just quickly about who I am. I grew up on a farm in Southwest Virginia, the son of a musician. My first career was as a music critic, writing for Pitchfork, The Village Voice, and Spin Magazine. I started a tiny record label, putting out music from bands and artists I saw at basement shows. I'm one of the co-founders of Kickstarter, and I was the CEO when we became one of the first public benefit corporations. I'm the co-founder of The Creative Independent and the author of 3 books covering economics, how we live online, and creative practices. And I'm one of the co-founders of Meta Label, a studio that releases work that helps people cooperate. Now, my path to A-Corps came really as I was being a creator out in the world, publishing books, running a newsletter, and finding myself in the very online cycle of despair and regret that we're all very familiar with. And I came to feel that part of it was that the job of the artist and creator had changed so much over time. Back in the day when there were gatekeepers and things were protected, there was more institutional support, more of a foundation to help people. And today, without gatekeepers, we're all on our own, which puts a lot more jobs in each of our plates. So I became obsessed with how is it that I could have more of a cooperative relationship with other creative people rather than feeling competitive with them for attention and likes. And so we came up with the Meta Label, the idea of a forum inspired by an indie record label where a group of artists, creative people who shared the same taste, the same cultural goals, could release work together, could have shared economics, shared cultural outcomes. My hit is your hit. We all support each other. And after working on that project for a couple of years, the need for artist corporations really showed itself. Because some of these collectives were having a lot of success economically, but yet struggled to fit into the systems that existed. And they needed lawyers and a lot of complicated steps to try to create something that reflected the truth of how they operated together. So we began working on the A-Corp as a way to make that form of people collaborating even more powerful, to give them more economic rights, the ability to own work, to get health insurance, and all sorts of other things that other businesses employ, but tend to be harder for creative people. So the first step was just to talk to folks. We did a nationwide tour, holding sessions with artists and creators and just listening to them, taking notes about what they were going through. On artistcorporations.com, our website, we launched a very in-depth survey where more than 1,600 creative people responded, telling us about what type of work that they make, how it is that they're organized, where the money comes from to make what they do, and also what are the biggest pains that they currently experience, which we found was getting access to capital, getting health care, the process of just running an LLC, getting it set up, sharing ownership with other people, as well as what they were looking for in a new system, something that's cheap, understandable, made ownership clear, gave them some upside. We began working with a world expert in corporate structures, corporate forms, Suze McCormick, and Suze has been our co-writer, co-founder, partner in crime throughout this entire process of helping to turn those lessons and things we learned into an actual bill. Now, this work really got a boost a year ago when we were invited to speak at TED, and on the TED stage, we introduced the A-Corp idea for the first time. And immediately afterwards, there in the space, we were approached by several folks from Colorado who were saying, hey, this is the perfect place to get started with this. You should come and meet some folks here. And so we did. Over the past year, we've made a half dozen trips to Colorado, meeting with political leaders, arts leaders, community leaders, people all across the state, talking to them about our idea for artist corporations and listening to them and listening to what was there on their mind. And we were amazed to find that there was a lot of alignment because Colorado has a thriving creative scene. More than 100,000 people are employed in creative jobs in Colorado. $16 billion of their economy a few years ago was just from arts and culture. And Colorado is also a state that allows for businesses to be formed anywhere in the world and be based in Colorado, provided they go through a registered agent process. And so after making connections with folks on both sides of the political aisle, we successfully were able to draft a bill and to find sponsors and people excited to work with us. So now we're moving forward with the bill in the Colorado Senate with support from Democrats, Republicans, and the governor's office, all aligned around this as a new opportunity for Colorado. And so this is the Colorado Artist Companies Act, proposed last month sponsored by both Republicans and Democrats, that is currently working its way through the state legislature and which we hope to be signed into law this year. Now, we have a page on artistcorporations.com where you can read the actual text of the Colorado Artist Companies Act, which is not the easiest to understand, which is why we have these human annotations on the side so you can see and get a sense of what's actually going on here. But the important things to know, what the law does that's different, is it makes a new custom type of an LLC. So it takes what is a very basic legal model and adds some special provisions on top to design for what artists need and are the sorts of things you might pay an entertainment lawyer to do in the old world. But some of the pieces. So an A-Corp, by law, must be 51% owned and controlled by artists and creators. So when you see something as an A-Corp, you will know that is an artist or creator-led and controlled entity. Next, an A-Corp explicitly has an artistic mission at its core. A lot of structures in the US, the assumption is it's a company there to make as much money as possible. With an A-Corp, by design, by law, it is there to produce cultural work of some type, and that is protected in its bylaws. The A-Corp also has rules around IP that say work you contribute to an A-Corp is yours, and in the event of the A-Corp collapsing or something, that work will revert back to you. It also says that work that you contribute to an A-Corp is valued as a capital contribution, meaning it shows up on the balance sheet and the overall valuation of your organization according to the market value of your work. So this is something that more sophisticated financial institutions can do now, but it's a door that hasn't been available to artists. This is going to put more of that power in our hands. The A-Corp also allows you to explicitly separate creative rights from operational rights, so once again protecting artistic vision. And as an A-Corp, in the process of creating it, you're given an option of whether or not you want to create shares and collective equity in this process or your studio. This would allow you to distribute shares and ownership among a group of co-founders or to compensate someone for work they do with ownership in the project explicitly. Or it could allow you to sell a percentage of your studio or the stake to an investor who wants to support the process and be in the long run aligned with your practice. On the Artist Corporation's website, we have a page where you can compare exactly how the A-Corp stacks up against a lot of the other forms that are commonly used today. And you can also take your actual financial info or a model of it and plug it into this calculator and see how being an A-Corp would affect you, what it looks like in terms of getting health care or overall valuation of your practice. We've taken the text of the law as it currently exists and used it to create a sign-up form where you can see exactly the choices and steps you'll go through in forming an A-Corp, like deciding how art and money are balanced in your project or assigning ownership among collaborators. You can see exactly how it works, and including moving an existing org over to become an A-Corp. Now, we're excited and optimistic for what this can mean for the future of creative practices and the new foundation this can set for us all. It's going to be a long road. This is just the start, the first state of many, the first in what we hope will be a centuries-long community and practice of artists and creative people being able to realize their value and put their visions out into the world in increasingly secure and beneficial ways. Thanks for taking the time to check this out, and you can learn more at artistcorporations.com.